Welcome to the girls club.
Oh my
Yay.
gosh. Did not even realize that it was girls club until about an hour ago when I was on a call with Kevin, and bless his heart, he was just slowly fading because he's not feeling well. And I said, man, are you going to be able to be on the podcast? And he goes, I'm not on the podcast today. And I said, what? And I said, I guess I'll just be with Andrew. And he goes, nope, not Andrew either. And I was like, what? I was like, who? And he's like, yeah, it's Beth and Julie. And I was like, yes.
Ladies podcast. So
We're
fun.
taking over. We're taking over control.
No
Love it.
offense to the boys, but we are so excited. And this is going to be a lot of fun. I can already tell.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the first post summit podcast too. So we get to do it on a fun one.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So I feel like we're going to have a good time. It's going to be, as Jen would say, electric.
It's going to be electric.
Electric. Definitely.
All right, well, let's get started. Welcome to episode 306. I am Beth Russell, and with me today is Julie Jarnagin and the online sales extraordinaire, Jen Barkan.
Oh, I
Yay.
like it. Yes.
You always need like that big tee up because you're just so like
Okay.
the energy is just I don't want to say electric again, but I can't help it.
I think my next tattoo needs to be a lightning bolt or
Mhm.
something.
I like
Please
it.
do. But you
Yes.
and Sam need to get matching ones.
Sam, yes. Sam needs to get one that says dominate, and I need to get a light.
Yes.
Oh no, this is the latest. This is the latest Sam thing. So
Yeah.
he's working on site at Chesapeake Homes.
And
Holla.
they love him.
They love him, yes. And I was like trying to like coach him on something or whatever, and I'm sure they love that. I'm like trying to coach him on their on-site process. But he goes, Mama, here's the deal. I got to get acclimated first. Then I accelerate, and then I dominate. I was like, okay. I was like, I can get behind that. You're going to get acclimated, right? Get your bearings. Then you're going to accelerate. Then you're going to dominate. And I was like, okay.
He's
I was
going
like,
to be a
feel like-
motivational speaker.
I know. I
Yeah.
was like writing it down. Like, all right, well, here we go.
Jen starts structuring
And
her next talk.
Thank you for the content. Yes. Thank you very much.
That is amazing. I love him. I feel like we need to start recruiting for Sam already
I'm telling you.
in the next like 5 to 10 years. He's gonna do great.
Well, he already told me he's got his sights set on NHB Rookie Salesperson of the Year. So I'm just putting that out there in the universe. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be there at IBS. So
Nice.
Lisa Parrish, Sam Barkan, putting it out
Plug.
there.
I
Rookie
like that.
Salesperson of the Year.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. He is,
Yeah.
that is the energy we all need right now. And I
I'm
feel
telling
like
you.
it is the energy that a lot of us have post summit. So as Julie mentioned, this is our first recording post summit, and I'm
Yes.
kind of excited that it's us and we don't have Kevin and Andrew. We can like really talk about it and how it went. Not that we wouldn't with them here as well, but I feel like it's like a little bit more fun with our personalities right now. But it is my first time
Yeah.
as a Do You Convert team member and not as an attendee working for the builder. So it was like a mixed bag of emotions, I feel like, afterwards.
Like, what do you mean?
There's definitely like you get home and you have this like, and I don't know if it's like
Yeah.
relief that it's over, or if it's like
Mhm.
sadness because you have this big buildup. So there's kind of a little funk, but I mean, it's good because you loved it and it was amazing. But then
Yeah.
I feel like I need to sleep for like 2 days just to like
Oh.
get back into my groove.
Yeah, we're
100%.
gonna dive right into story time with this one because, so like I said, mixed bag. And I think it's just like what Julie said, it's a mixture of like, oh my gosh, it's done. That was like a lot of socializing and I never
Mhm.
socialize. I'm always in this cave by myself.
Mhm.
And then it's sad also because like this is the one time a year that we as the Do You Convert team like get together. So it's so great seeing people and meeting people for the first time in person that I haven't met before. But then I like couldn't help but reflect on my time as an attendee and that emotion that a lot of the attendees are probably feeling of part of it is like, oh my gosh, I suck at my job. So many people are better at this than me. There's so many creative people, but I'm also like loving that I feel that way, because if you didn't feel that way, you wouldn't have that fire to go out there and do something different and implement something new and apply a lot of the things that, you know, all the wonderful presenters were talking about at these various sessions. And so like, I remember having that fire of like, I am ready to hit the ground running and I want to do this and I want to do this and I have so many ideas. But then I also remember when reality hit and like you get back to the daily grind and how quickly it starts to burn out and I don't want to say burn out because that sounds like super negative, but like it diminishes. That flame starts to diminish.
Right.
And so I think on my end now as a Do You Convert person and a coach that has like direct impact on all of these people that were attending is like, now I feel that fire in a new way of helping their flame stay lit for longer.
Oh, I like it.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, we got to find new ways. We have to now
keep them lit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Bottle that energy up.
So as you were talking, that's, you know, I was thinking about that and I was thinking that, you know, anytime you come from a conference or, you know, and you have this notebook full of ideas, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get back and I'm going to implement this. And we see this a lot happen with our online sales academy too. Like, you know, they come and they're just like sponges and they have their notebooks and they're like, yes, I'm going to go do all the things. And realistically, you can't do all the things, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking when you were talking, like advice, you know, is summarize your notes. Like, so you've got this notebook full of stuff and it's like, go through and highlight this is where I'm going to start. And maybe you pick 3 things and you go, okay, I'm going to tackle these 3 things over the course of the next 3 to 6 months or whatever. And then keep revisiting that notebook. But it can be overwhelming, like trying to be like, oh, I want to do this and this and this and this. And then you end up maybe not doing anything well. Whereas if you had like a couple of things that you really implemented well, then that's maybe being more successful.
And I think it's about also don't make excuses about why you can't implement something. Like, don't pick the 3 easiest things that you think you can do. Like, pick one that's challenging. And I had all the people in the marketing room shout, I am limitless on purpose, because so many times we like put ourselves in a box and think, well, I can't do that because of X, Y, Z. And I can't do that in my organization because we don't have this, or I don't have this. And it's like, no, pick something that's a challenge and really hone in on it and try it and fail if you need to. But it, you know, like sometimes failing is just as good of an experience than actually being super successful at it.
And I think part of the magic of Summit is those connections. You're there with other people who are passionate about it and you can talk to it. And so I think people need to remember to foster connections outside of something like Summit. So whether that's somebody you've met in a similar role from somewhere else, you have a Zoom once a month to talk about challenges you had. If that means taking somebody on your team out to coffee, you know, once every 2 weeks to like talk through things and brainstorm like outside. I think fostering the connections is one way to kind of keep that spark.
Absolutely.
Lit. Got to stay lit. Hey, you got to get acclimated. You got to accelerate. You got to stay lit. And you got to dominate. We're going to add that in there.
Oh my gosh.
They're never going to let us do a podcast together again. They're going to say we've lost control.
I know. The persona that Jen just took on was...
I love it.
I hope everyone who's like listening goes back and watches just
I forgot that this is like recorded. Like, so
you thought we were just hanging out.
You need to make one of your freestyle raps next, actually, that puts all that in it.
You know, I need to work on this. You're right. Yeah.
Challenge
Right.
accepted.
Mm.
Julie, what do you got?
Yeah. So I was talking to a builder yesterday. She is new in the role, but not new to home building, super smart, working hard. And she came to me and said, I'm freaking out because everybody's on me, like, not enough leads, not enough leads. We don't have enough. Everything's slow. And I was like, okay, let's look at the numbers. And then when we pulled all the numbers, number wise, like, things look good. We are getting what we were when they felt like things are real. So it was just talking through, like, let's take the data. How are we going to talk through the data with them? How are we going to ask good questions about, like, why does this feel slow with this? And she said something that I thought was really might resonate with other people. She said, it's like learning a language. She said, when we talk about it, she was like, I understand it. I get it. When I'm at Summit and I'm learning these things, I'm like, yes. But she said, then, like, leadership or sales or somebody comes to me with these things, with these questions, and I have to talk about, like, what we're doing as marketing. She's like, then I can't just communicate it out to them. I can't take that and explain it. And so we just had this conversation about how that in itself is a skill. One thing is, like, understanding the numbers and knowing what you're doing and having a marketing strategy, but it's a separate skill to then be able to take all that data and look at that information and then be able to communicate that back to other people in the organization. And I said, that's just going to take practice. And that's something you're actually going to have to work at. You're going to have to be in the data every day. You're going to have to start showing this to people and explaining things to people and getting that experience of how you talk about it and how to answer things. So I thought it was interesting thinking about it like that as a language. She understands it, but she can't speak it yet. That's her challenge right now. And I think it is a harder skill than people realize. They just think they should be able to do it automatically, but it takes practice.
That is such good advice of like telling her to get out there and try and talk to different audiences, because how you translate it and how you tell that story of the data is going to be a little bit different based off of the audience that you're presenting it to. And so the more you do that, the more comfortable and confident that you'll be. And I think it translates in any position, not just marketers translating data, but online salespeople overcoming objections on the phone. Us as coaches, all three of us being coaches and like trying to get, make an impact with different types of people and in different organizations. Like, give yourself some grace. Start from the foundation that you have, build upon that foundation and get practice. So that way it just feels more comfortable and intuitive over time. But that grace is so important. And that advice you gave her is so good.
And too, like, as you were talking, I was thinking about, so my daughter Mia just came home for fall break from school, and I was asking her about her classes, and she was like, oh, I had this presentation. I had to stand up in front of people and I got a 96, and like, I didn't even have to really look at my notes. And I just felt so good about it. And I was like, oh, that's so great, Mia. Why do you think? And she's like, well, I really knew the material. And I said, ding, ding, ding. Like, the more with knowledge comes confidence.
Yes.
The more that you study and you prepare and you learn it, the more confident you're going to feel about what you're talking about. And you don't even need it. Like, it just comes authentically out of you. We talk about that as coaches. It's like, you don't even need to look at a script. Like, you feel confident about the knowledge, you can present it. So with your marketers, it's like, you have to put in the work to learn it and study it, right? But it takes time. And have some cheat sheets. Like, if you're going to be presenting to leadership, like, have your notes, like, because you get sidetracked and you forget what you're talking about. Have your notes and your cheat sheets. Yeah.
And focus on the things that like will be most important to them. Like, you don't have to dig into the weeds. You don't have to go super technical and we don't have to let our entire nerd side show. Like, we can tuck it in a little bit.
Let your nerd flag fly.
Yeah. To an extent.
Yes. Yes, consider your audience for sure.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, ladies, I'm just so happy it's y'all because sometimes Kevin and Andrew are on here and I'm sitting here like, okay, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm over here in online sales land. Don't know. So
Sure.
don't let your
Yeah.
nerd flag fly too high, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Make sure that you're somewhat understandable by the normal people like me.
When
Yeah.
it's
We're
coming into
normal
Do You
people
Convert,
too,
my
Jen.
like thing that I wasn't as strong at is a lot of the technical side of ads because I didn't have to do a lot of that at my builder.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so like when Andrew and Julie and Becca and Sarah were teaching me the things that I like needed to rebuild my foundation on, I would be like, okay, for dummies, like do this for dummies, you
Amen,
know,
sister.
because we all
Yeah.
have our strengths, we all have
Like,
our things that we're good at, but not everyone. My husband, I know he's listening. He always listens. He always says to me, like,
oh, that makes one of ours.
Mine doesn't either, but I don't listen to his, so it's fair. We're
Oh, that's so
even.
nice of Mike.
well, he has all this time on his drive in the morning, so he
Oh,
listens to our
so
voices.
great.
But he always reminds me, like, not everyone knows what you know. You know, it's not as
Right.
natural. So like sometimes you have to dumb it down a little bit and pretend like you're writing marketing for dummies or things like that. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because
No.
also it brings us, we keep going back to this foundation, it brings us back to our foundation and kind of helps us remember on the basics that we should be focusing on every once in a while.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to be vulnerable when you don't know something. So like,
Yes.
I mean, this is a big
topic. And I
It's
think
a big one.
I think it's a really good topic for everyone listening, but especially leaders that are listening, because I don't think, and I think that's why so many people at Summit were so captivated by Rhonda and Elena, because they are high level within their organizations, but they, and even Chris, you know, like not afraid to be vulnerable and let people in because it opens up the door for other people to be vulnerable. And it doesn't mean that you have to be singing Kumbaya and like diving into your personal lives. It just means that you are unafraid to be authentically yourself, to be wrong, to fail, and to allow room for people to not know so they can ask the right questions so that you can actually get to the right answers.
Yeah. I know I've talked about this before, probably on the podcast, but I'm just going to say it again. Brene Brown talks about daring leadership versus armored leadership. Armored leadership means you approach things with like, I know everything. Like, I don't want to ever look vulnerable. Like I'm tough, right?
Yeah.
When you approach leadership in that way, you're missing out on growth and opportunity. Approaching it with a daring leadership mindset of, you know, I'll admit, like, I don't know the answer to that, but you know what? You and I are going to figure this out together.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask questions of you. You're going to teach me. I'm going to teach you. And we're going to tackle this together. You know, so I just encourage leaders, like, and even us at Do You Convert as coaches, like, you know, it's like, sometimes you don't know the answer and it's okay to be like, I was just on a call yesterday, totally stumped me. I was like, so I gave them my classic, you know, and those of you that know this, so this is the classic pivot objection is like, that's interesting. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to talk about it with the team and we'll get back to you. But I don't know. Calling in a lifeline.
Like if you don't do that as a leader, then you are also preventing your own growth because you stop learning.
That's what I mean. Exactly. You stop learning.
Yeah. And your whole team is scared to admit when they don't know something.
Right.
Because you look like you always have the answers and I'm going to look stupid. Right. But if they know you're willing to do that, then they're willing to admit when like, I don't know what that means. I'm just shaking my head and nodding and like, yes, Kevin, I'll do that. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. GA4. Oh, okay. That's not Gatorade. Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah. No, I think this is a big topic as of recently. And I can't tell you actually how many times at somewhat summit it was brought up to me. And I don't know if either of you got the same of like people wanting more leadership help, whether it be at the marketing level or the sales and marketing level. And so it's something that, you know, I've been really brewing on, and I'm trying to create a way for that fire to keep burning, because I think it's really important that we continue training at that level and at that topic, because it, as we're learning from the stuff that's in the news this week, bad leadership.
Oh, we got to talk. We got to talk about the news, I guess, at some point. Huh?
We'll get there. But it can, you know, have a really big domino effect within an organization.
Well, 100% agree with you on the online sales side. The leadership is a constant, like, just managing online sales team is completely different than managing an on-site sales team. Completely different. And so, you know, most sales leaders, bandwidth is stretched. They're busy. They're putting out fires with on-site stuff all the time. And if numbers look good, it's easy just to go, hey, you good over there? Numbers look fine. Okay, check. Like, sweet. Everything's good.
Yeah.
But what we know is that, yeah, numbers look great because numbers look great right now. But like, as far as conversions go, but we have to look beyond that, and we have to manage the program, manage the person, you know, beyond just the numbers. So it definitely a space for more conversations around that.
So I promise we'll get to the news, but I want to do a hot take, if that's okay with you girls.
What is that?
Yeah.
Jen and Julie too. Who do you think should manage online sales within an organization?
Oh, well, I'll let Julie answer first, and then I'll answer.
Oh gosh. Marketing director would be my answer.
Okay.
But that's my experience. It started in marketing, then it was director of sales and marketing was the same person. So I lean towards marketing, not sales.
Okay. So I have not an exactly black and white answer. If it is a new program for your organization and you have to get sales buy-in, like it's a complete culture shift when you're rolling this program out, and sales could be a little bit resistant to it. It works well to have a sales leader kind of overseeing, because online sales is an extension of the sales team. That's how you want to set that role up and position it. And so if you have a sales leader over it that's really good at bridging the gap, then it works out better, I think, in that situation. Ultimately, the bottom line, though, is whoever is going to have the bandwidth, whoever understands the role the best, who is going to hold them accountable, who is going to be the conduit between sales and marketing and online, which in a lot of cases it's marketing, right? We talk about online sales being like the love child between marketing and sales. And so we see a lot of success too with online sales reporting up to that marketing person that is kind of really good. But ultimately it comes down to there has to be communication between sales, marketing, and online.
Yeah.
If there's silos, it never works.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good answer. And like originally I sway on Julie's side too, based off of my own personal experience.
Right.
And we're marketers.
Because you manage, well, you manage the team and you were marketing. So,
and they came from sales to under the marketing umbrella. And that's, but the reason why that worked, to your point, Jen, is because I had the time and ability to understand their role within the organization and the impact in which they had within the organization and our successes. And so it made sense for them to be under me within the marketing umbrella.
Right.
And I think that's what the same situation for Julie as well. I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I think that was similar for you guys. And so when it comes to online sales, I think, they could flourish under either, but it's just important that their voice is heard and recognized and appreciated within the organization so that they are fully supported by whomever it is that is leading them, but it has to have the influence of marketing and sales either way.
And I feel like sales, if a salesperson is going to be the leader, not a salesperson, a sales leader is going to manage them, I think they have to understand how dramatically different those two roles are. They can't treat them like an on-site salesperson who's just taking lead. It's a different role. So it has to be somebody who understands those differences, I think.
Yeah. And that's the same can be said for marketing, right? Because like if you have a sales leader in charge of marketing or leading the marketing person, whoever is doing the implementation of marketing, if you have if someone that doesn't understand marketing or doesn't recognize the difference between marketing and sales and how they should work together, not separately, then you're setting them up for failure as well. So like basically, if you're at the top, if you're in a leadership position in any organization, in any field, you have to take the time to understand what it is that your people do and their importance within the day in and day out operations and the success of the operation in order to be a successful leader at that level.
And this goes back to what we were saying about daring and armored leadership. If you are a leader who you're like, I've never been an online sales specialist, I have no idea like the ins and outs, right? Because it's most of the time, like you weren't an online sales specialist and you manage them, right? Being a daring leader is, I've never done this role. Teach me, show me your process, show me what you do, show me your reporting, show me this, and let's talk about it. Like you don't have to come in like knowing everything or, you know what I mean?
Be
ask
vulnerable
questions.
enough to not be the expert.
Yeah. Just ask questions.
Yeah.
Full circle. Y'all took it full circle on that one.
Oh man.
Boom.
So
they should let us take over more often. Okay. So I promised we would get to the news. So all of this does lead into the hot topic of the week, which is Redfin's announcement via an open letter, if you will, on what was it, Monday that they published this?
I think it was Monday.
Yeah, that they are leaving the National Association of Realtors. And they really put it all out there, which, I mean, kudos, because I love the honesty. I love the transparency.
Jinx.
And I think, we've had a couple internal conversations about this, but I think the real interesting thing about this is to see what happens next, because they're the first ones to really say no. Like, regardless of how the semantics work behind scenes and what might happen, what they can and can't do at different levels and in different regional areas, where their hands might be a little cuffed, if you will. But I think it's really interesting that they were the first ones to get out there and say that we're not tolerating this anymore and something has to change.
And if you're not following this, the few reasons they gave for severing ties was one, the Association of Realtors policies requiring a fee for the buyer's agent on every listing. So, and that meant like on redfin.com, you couldn't list a for sale by owner. It would have to be someone associated. And then also a pattern of alleged sexual harassment. So there were different levels to this. It wasn't just the policies that they're unhappy with. It was also some leadership issues as well. So it's a very layered, multifaceted issue that they're working through.
Yeah. As a former realtor, as a former member of NAR. No, I'm just like,
yeah. And it gets complicated. It gets complicated because a lot of the MLSs are tied to the local and state realtor associations.
Yep.
Right. So you have to be a member of the Association of Realtors to get access to the MLS.
Yeah.
Well, the NAR rules say that if they're not associating with that, none of the people below them downstream, which would give them no access to MLS. So it's a very far-reaching. They've said this, and there's different conversations about, is this just symbolic, or are they going to go fight every single, different local chapter, I don't know if they're chapters, whatever they are, to get access to the MLS. So it's very much the first step. It's a big step, and it makes a big statement in a very long process of how to untangle all of this that's been going on, how it's worked for years.
It's been going, there's been ruckus around this for quite some time. So like you said, I'll be interesting to see kind of what happens next. Like they're the first ones to kind of publicly put it out there. So
beautifully summarized, Julie. That was kudos, ma'am.
And no, I think what you were talking about, Julie. Thank you.
Hopefully it's all right. Y'all go read the article and double check all my facts there. Read the links in the show notes.
So in our next piece of news is also related to the National Association of Realtors, because apparently there is, I love this word, mutiny inside the NAR.
Let me get my popcorn.
Yeah, seriously, let me start popping it right now. As staffers call for resignation of top executives. Now, this is more based around the sexual harassment claims that have occurred, as well as additional toxic workplace environment situations and cover-ups. And yeah, that's going to take a big bag of popcorn.
Yeah, so, I think we're just moving on from that.
Yeah, I think it shows a little bit of the ripple effect, right? Now it's brought back up. Definitely. It's back in the news. Now they're saying it's only a small number of employees that issued this letter, but I think it's still a big step. And I think it shows that people aren't going to, like I said earlier, tolerate it anymore. And people are willing to put their name on the line in some cases, and their job and their careers, to say, even their company with Redfin's case, to say that, okay, like something has to get, something has to be done. So let's see how it pans out.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about this more in the future.
Hopefully not as long as mortgage rates.
Oh gosh, no mortgage rate stories this week.
No. No.
But this next one, Julie has a good personal story associated with it. I know, but
yeah. So this story was climate change pushes up home insurance premiums. A recent study from Policy Genius found that quoted homeowners insurance premiums increased by 21% nationally from May 2022 to May 2023, and that Florida experienced the largest jump, with premiums increasing by 35%. So I went and did some math. So I live in Louisiana, South Louisiana, just north of New Orleans. And everybody below Interstate 12, all their insurance premiums have gone crazy. So my insurance company, who we had homeowners insurance for a year, went bankrupt. So I got a letter that said they're going bankrupt. You're about to not have homeowners insurance. And here we found another quote for you, which nobody wants to give homeowners insurance down here. And the new quote they gave me was 174% higher than we were currently paying. This was in March. If I seemed really stressed out in March, and it was like an insurance company I had never heard of. We don't even live in a floodplain, or I mean, all of this area is probably a floodplain, but we're not required to have flood insurance.
So what was the why?
Well, they went bankrupt, and just nobody wants to take on people in this area. They just say, no, thank you. Most homeowners insurance just says, so the quote we got was from like a crazy sounding made up name insurance company. And when I talked to another agent, he said, oh, and I've heard that they ask you to sign over a power of attorney if you work with them. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. So they finally found me another one. And my premium went up 109%, which was better than the 174%. So when I read this article, I had a little, but how it affects not just my story, but just how it affects homeowners, like that digs right into your budget for how much money you have to pay for your monthly mortgage. I mean, it makes a big difference, especially Florida, Louisiana, I'm sure areas of Texas. I don't know, Jen, if this affects you yet or not.
Well, it does, because I am below sea level.
We're right there with you. We're really close.
Yeah. So requirements for flood insurance. Anybody that's buying a new home. So this is interesting. right down the way, people that live directly on the river
Yeah.
in Norfolk, which is really low. If you buy a home over there as of, I think maybe last year or the year before, you're required to raise it in order to get the insurance. So you have to so we see all these homes going up on like
Stilts.
cinder block
Mm-hmm.
stilts, basically. I don't know, like cinder block foundations, like 10 feet high. It's like the most bizarre thing. But it's like, in order to get insurance, that's the requirement, is that you have to raise your house.
Wow.
And what the article's saying is people are now taking this into account when they're purchasing homes.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, if I was buying another home, I would think about it. Like, can we get, but of course it affects school district and all sorts of things, but it does. And it's something worth talking about if you're in an area where the home insurance premiums are more affordable than just a little bit down the road. I mean, it's things worth thinking about because this is what home buyers are thinking about as well.
Yeah.
I was about to say, marketers
using
take
that
note.
as you're saying using that as a unique selling proposition of, hey, compared to this, or
absolutely. And it works because in our
used
neighborhood alone, it's a huge master plan community that we live in. Our side, we actually didn't know this until we were prepping to close, but we are required to have flood insurance. And no one warned me how expensive it is.
It's
Mike
crazy,
and I were
right?
like, oh, okay. But that being said, the other side of the neighborhood, there's a street that, like, when you're driving in, it's first on your right-hand side. Their biggest selling point is they don't require flood insurance over there. So when people list their homes, they're like, not only are we in River Island, but oh, by the way, you don't need flood insurance here. And it's a huge selling point. So I feel like marketers need to be paying attention to little nuances like that, because it does affect affordability and it does affect the buyer's decision-making.
Yeah. And you need to be listening to your home buyers for anything like that they're talking about, because if that matters to them, it needs to matter to you as well.
Amen.
Yeah.
Speaking of affordability and impact on that, we have resumed student loan payments shake up the housing market from Pro Builder. Yeah.
The student loan gives me stress.
You're wiggling a lot right now, trying to shake it off.
I only have one with student loan, so.
Yeah. I can't speak to this one with personal experience because neither of us have student loans. We were very blessed to not have any, but basically student loan payments are set to resume this month. And that added expense is an unwelcome obstacle for already cost burden home buyers. So just another factor that we have to consider when, talking to our homeowners or soon to be homeowners of what they can realistically afford. Because now what I liked about this one is they're talking about how consumers are essentially bundling their debt. And so they're looking at their debt as a whole number versus like something that can be paid off here or there, and not individual numbers. Exactly. So they're looking at this as a holistic number. And so that payment is just adding to that whole number. And they're feeling that anxiety going into the purchase, because it's not just the mortgage that they're considering. They're considering the student debt. They're considering the car payments that are through the roof right now. Are they going to need another car payment?
Student loan monthly payment is?
So this article said it's what?
Was it in the article? I feel like I read something. I feel like I read something where it was like 203 or something. Was that in this article
says typical monthly student loan payment being around $200.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing that plays into, we just talked to a builder today and we were talking about some different things different builders are doing. And they were like, yeah, but you have to understand our particular buyer, they don't have a 20% down payment. And that's going to be an issue too, as all these things eat into people's budgets. Like that down payment is more and more of an issue too. So it has far reaching effects for us, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, it's interesting that a lot of builders don't even know that about their buyer. Like, kudos to your builder knowing that, because sometimes they don't understand the nuances. Like, and I love that they're out there actively trying to learn. Like, I get a lot of builders within our circle asking for a 30-minute call with me to learn about the military buyer and what that psyche is like and how they can help them in a different way that's outside of some sort of incentive. And I love having those conversations because they are truly making an effort. And I think all of these articles and the realistic world that we're living in right now is pinpointing that we have to take that one-to-one approach and really know what our buyer's life is like and the obstacles that they have outside of just our day-to-day organization and the products that we have to offer them within our community, but really take the time to learn who they are and what they're facing.
Personalized incentives based on what's happening with that particular customer or buyer.
Yeah.
So, oh, you have student loan debt. So should the builder pay their student loan?
Oh, that's
a stretch.
This is Jen's hot take now.
We just pay that off for you.
Student loans are preventing you from getting into this house. What if we paid half of your student loan debt? I don't know. I'm just like,
I mean, is it less than what they would pay something? $10,000 is $10,000. So
that's what I'm saying. Like if you know, if you want to use that to reduce your debt to income ratio, I don't know, like, because from what I know, because I have a kid who has student loans, like the loan amount is, you know, it's spread it to keep the monthly payment low, right? Like paying this high interest rate, it's spread over a long period of time when really it might only be $20,000 that they owe. But like, in order to make that an affordable payment, right, they've got this crazy loan thing and whatever. So if a builder could say, we'll pay your loan off, or we'll pay half of your loan off, I don't know, that would
If this happens, Jen, you're getting full credit for this.
I love it.
This is a Jen Barkan special. Love it.
But it's a great example of like the amount of creativity that we have to have right now on a one-to-one basis. Like, the conversations that I had with a builder recently about like, how can we help the military buyer or even just the relo buyer in general? Like, take our situation as a case study. We lived in an Airbnb for 2 months. Was $5,000. Pay for their Airbnb for 2 months.
Yes. We will help you with your moving costs, your relocation costs, whatever. Will, you know, yes. Listen, when I was in my former life, I mean, I worked for builders that would like, okay, like your home's not going to be ready for another 6 months, longer than what we thought or whatever. We'll pay for you for a long-term rental.
Yeah.
A furnished rental.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I don't know. I agree with you that there has to be some creative solutions and to work with some of these people.
Yeah, absolutely. And as marketers, like you have a voice in offering those solutions up. Like you have a voice and an impact, and don't be afraid to make those suggestions and say, hey, I heard this creative idea, or this other builder is doing this. Maybe this is something that we can implement. And I love that idea because people forget, I think builders forget, that at the time of purchasing and moving a home, not only is it extremely stressful, but you are hemorrhaging money when you are purchasing a home, whether it's because you have to do an Airbnb, or you have to pay the movers, or you have to tip the movers, you have to buy the movers food. You have to, get out of your lease early. You have to sell your home. You have to move across country and pay for hotels. You have, buy new furniture. Like you are hemorrhaging money left and right for whatever reason. And so the different ways that you can relieve some of that burden off in creative ways that you can do that. I mean, let's see it happen. Share your stories.
You can tell Beth just moved.
I know.
She's like, you got to tip the driver. You got to get them food.
And how many times have we moved in the past?
You got to go buy toilet paper. I mean,
your food goes bad. You have to get rid of all of your food it's ridiculous. The little things that you don't think about.
We need to unpack.
These always turn into a therapy session for me. Okay.
I love it. It's good.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
Okay,
speaking
moving
of
on.
waiting, I'm moving right on. Speaking of waiting for a long time, why is your Starbucks wait so long, Julie?
It's because people are coming up with weirder and weirder drinks, more elaborate drink combinations is what it says.
You gotta wait for perfection.
So this is from
Customization.
Bloomberg, and it says elaborate drinks and an almost endless array of combinations can slow baristas down, but a plan to hasten service has yet to materialize. So they're talking about how it's how Starbucks is struggling because there's so many. There was like a crazy number in here, if I can find it.
Well, they're
for just a latte, it adds up to more than 383 billion different possibilities of what you can make. The team had a lot of fun with this one. There was a lot of back and forth conversation about this article.
We did. And while the different data that was pooled, I think is really fun. And I don't remember particularly if it was in this article or not, but we talked about it internally. But Starbucks had released that that their customization, their personalization of their product, if you will, increases their revenue by 1 billion. But on the contrary, their other data, which is the weight associated with creating said custom drinks, had lost them anywhere between 3 and 5 billion or something like that in additional revenue because people were leaving and they were losing customers.
Like, I don't have time to wait.
Oh, Jen, how does that relate to online sales?
Well, yeah, if you're not first, you're last. So, I mean, listen, people, I go back to that that study, Beth, you and I were talking about, like, the personalization study. Bomb had presented it last year at our summit, and just talking about customers expect. So that word expect is very powerful here as we're talking about this. Customers expect personalized service. They want what they want. They want customization, they want personalization, and they want it quick. And so if we're not able to deliver that, we're gonna lose. Case in point, like, yes, they're making money on their personalization, but they're losing more on people getting irritated and walking out the door. So when we talk about online sales, we got to staff up. We got to staff up in order to meet the demands, in order to provide a personalized service. So Starbucks, I know they're making changes. They're talking about getting different ice. It's like, what? They need to staff up if they're going to be able to provide this level of service.
The other place I've seen this in home building. So I'm old. I've been in home building since before 2008. I started in 2005, production builder. And it's like, this is what we build.
That's when I started, 2005.
Here is it.
Yes.
Here's what we build. You can select from these 2 color palettes. And people were fine with that. And then 2008 hit and everything crashed. And we said, you can make whatever selections you want. Here are all the selections in the world. So like the pendulum swung the exact way. Then we started not being profitable in that. And it was taking everybody forever to get through the system. There were way too many choices. It was overwhelming everybody. And then we swung all the way the other way, where at one point at Ideal Homes, Steve will call me if I'm wrong on this, but at one time at Ideal Homes, somebody would say, I will buy that house if you will paint the front door. I think once we painted a front door orange, and we live in Norman with OU, and somebody's like, you have to paint the front door. And we would refuse. We would say, nope, that's not in our scope. If that door is orange, it's staying orange. So like, I think what's interesting, what I've seen in home building, is how in the selections world, like that pendulum goes dramatic either way. And I think where probably Starbucks suffers with, they're so huge, it's hard to quickly adapt to changes. So if there's a TikTok trend, and this is from Olivia and Bryce, they had this conversation on the Slack channel. They were talking about how all of a sudden on TikTok, people are talking about the cool new trend of this weird drink that had 42 different things in it. It's hard. Then everybody goes and orders that. Like, how do you do that among all the Starbucks in the world? It slows everything down. So yeah, we definitely see this. And I think the people who deal with it best probably are the people who are faster to adapt.
Yeah,
Don't you think if
absolutely.
Starbucks set expectations a little
Yep.
differently at the
Mhm.
beginning and when you go to order,
That
that,
was
yeah, you set expectations and then you don't have an issue.
And I
Yeah,
think
that
it's
was
about living in, like we talked about this at the summit for on the marketing side. My session was on personalization and taking ideas out of other industries that do it well. And the whole point is that it's somewhere in the middle. Like you have to offer
Right.
enough that you're meeting your buyer's expectations of allowing customization or a personalized experience, but you're also living in a world where you can still mass produce something, whether it be a shoe, M&Ms, Starbucks drinks, or homes. I don't want to say mass produce that in that regard, but produce a product in an efficient manner that can be delivered on time. So it's just living in that middle ground. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a huge thing like a bajillion options for a custom drink. It can be something a little bit dialed back where the customer just needs to feel control. They need to feel like they had a part in the process. They got what they wanted. Their expectations were met. And it's up to us to find what that middle ground is, that sweet spot, so that we can work effectively or efficiently in this case to be successful.
Yeah.
Lessons from
We
Starbucks.
solved all the problems today.
all the problems. This was so fun.
Yeah.
Girls run
We
the
got it.
world.
We got to have a girls only podcast every now and again. We got to get this on the schedule.
100%.
I'm down. Put it on, Olivia. You're listening in. Okay, so before we end, we have to do our favorites.
Favorites. I do have a favorite.
Oh my gosh.
So I just found on Netflix there's a new season of my very favorite show, which is Great British Baking Show. I do not bake.
Oh gosh.
Do not bake. I love it. It's my favorite. And there's a new season out and it just made my day.
Do you actually bake or do you just like to watch it because it's soothing?
I
the
do
dry
not bake.
humor is everything.
It relaxes me. The British accents relax me. It's my favorite. I have watched these episodes. It's one of those ones I'll put on in the background and just let play because it's very soothing to me. So I'm very excited about that. That is my favorite right now.
I'm learning more about you. I like this.
Well, my favorite show right now is Suits.
Oh,
it's having a resurgence.
I know.
Yeah.
It's bad when my 75-year-old mom tells me about it. She's like, oh, have you seen this new show, Suits? It's so funny and cute. You would really like it. I was like, oh, okay. So I start watching it. I am hooked.
Yeah. It's addicting. So if you haven't watched
Did you guys watch it?
No, I'm too busy watching the British baking show.
British baking show. Oh my God.
No time.
It's
no
so
time
cute.
to watch Suits.
It's so cute.
It's really entertaining for sure. Mine isn't related to
TV
shows.
Good. We need something else.
Yeah, I don't really have any. I'm boring and I watch the same shows like over and over and over again. But it is the fact that we just moved into our house and it looks like a black cave for those of you that are watching and aren't watching. Like my office looks like a black cave, but it's actually painted a dark olive color. It's called ripe olive if you want to look it up. It's so pretty in real life, but on Zoom it looks a little dark. But the house itself, I live in a tree house. It is amazing.
That. Yeah.
Like it feels like a tree house and I love it. And I go out on this, like all of our neighbors are like, oh my gosh, you're a deck. And oh my gosh, and I'm like, no, it's amazing. It's so nice. So yeah, I'm in a pinch me world. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see lots of treehouse pictures and lunch views.
Yeah,
we love it.
So pretty.
Yeah, I'm not apologizing for it.
I'm so happy for you. It makes paying the movers a little extra. It
tipping,
makes tipping, lunches,
throwing out your food.
Yeah,
throwing out our food. Living in an Airbnb for 2 months.
Yeah, it's all worth it.
By the way, our neighbor who is building their house, whose house is also delayed, she is now living in the same Airbnb that we lived in.
Man, providing jobs. Providing money for the
there you go.
the community.
All right. Well, thanks for today. This was fun.
Oh, this was so fun. Thank you guys.
That's fun.
Have a good one.
Bye.